Testing JB here, JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding on this Friday, July 12th, 2024, 8:56. Talk about the same things I always do. Talk about the market, some names I'm looking at, and go from there. But futures were mixed this morning, kind of flat. NASDAQ and S&P are barely in the green. Small caps are rallying once again. Small cap futures are up over 1.3%. That's on the heels of the huge rally yesterday. And the big rotation continues. A lot of people are trying to rationalize what happened yesterday. It was some wild swings, wild moves, a huge divergence. NASDAQ down nearly 2%, S&P down 0.8%, and small caps soaring. Some are saying it was hedge funds that had wrong positioning. They shorted small caps, long the mega cap, big cap names. Um, Others, and you saw some of the other names, especially in home builders, real estate. Those are rallying on lower yields. But to me, I think it's just folks just positioning for lower rates sooner than expected, and now the possibility of 3 rate cuts before the year is out. When you have companies, big caps, flush with cash, when yields are high, that's good, right? They don't have debt, they have plenty of cash. Small caps, typically, they have debt and they're financing their debt. And when you have high rates, it's not good for it, right? When you have low rates, it helps them with their growth, help pay down debt, things like that. So I think there's a whole basket of reasons why what happened yesterday was with that divergence. But I guess in summation, the lower rates just expediting some of the probably the slower rotation that would have happened. I've been talking about small caps rallying for weeks. Finally, it happened. Hopefully, it's continuation, and that could be the next leg to the rally. Take a look at the S&P. 561 was the close on Wednesday, so I wanted to see that hold yesterday. That didn't. And now I'm looking at 554. If things get crazy, I don't know if they will, but if we do have another melt from the open, that's an area I'll be watching. If we break under 554, I'll be looking for some inexpensive spec hedge puts, possibly in some of the chip names, Broadcom, LRCX, so on and so forth. If you look also, something, I guess the silver lining yesterday that helps keep your sanity when the market's selling off, or at least the S&P, and you see all the big cap, mega cap names losing what was $550 billion in market cap valuation yesterday, was the VIX. And the VIX was only up 3% when the S&P was at lows. And then as the S&P bounced a little bit, the VIX it pretty much closed flat. So and then take in consideration that we're markets at all-time highs, for that to happen, I think it means that folks aren't positioned for a huge crash, right? Unless you're Hedgeye, and Hedgeye's patting themselves on the back yesterday saying, oh, we called the 2018 crash, the 2020 crash, the whatever. They were also putting articles out at the lows and ads out at the lows and at the COVID lows saying 30% more coming to the downside. They always want to pat themselves on the back because they've called 37 of the last 3 market corrections, right? But so has a lot of other folks, but that's how you get clicks and whatever. So the VIX has kind of helped keep the sanity yesterday. I'll be watching that again today. The VIX is down, it's almost down 3% so far in the pre-market. So I think that bodes well. And then if you look at the small caps, just a monster move here. And I think there's still plenty of room to go. I mean, we 225, 230, and I think that'll help pull up some of these other names. So that's small caps. I'll talk really quick about Baidu. It's gapping up again here in the pre-market. I always check the Hong Kong market for Baidu, and you kind of get a gauge of where Baidu is going to open up, or at least the pre-market's going to play out for Baidu. So it was up another 2% in Hong Kong yesterday. It's up here at 102.70. I locked the last of my July strikes in. I just didn't want to be in a situation where Baidu breaks under 100 and then the profits start to erode pretty quickly. So, yeah, so I didn't want to be in that situation. I also still have the August strikes, and I locked some of those in as well, some more of those. If Baidu breaks maybe 105 and the 200-day moving average is 107.50, if it breaks over 107.50, I think it's off to races sooner than expected to 115. But if it breaks 105 and holds that today, I may look for some more August strikes. The thing with Baidu, they haven't announced their earnings date yet, and typically they report earnings in the middle of August. So it's possible that the August strikes, which expire on the 16th, may encompass premiums, and may encompass the earnings, and the instant they announce the date of the earnings, and if it encompasses that date of the August expiration, the premiums are going to go nuts. They'll be up another 100% just on that announcement. So it's kind of speculative in nature. I don't think it'll lose premiums if the date comes out later than expectations, because I don't think the premiums baked into the August strikes, but it could be another place. So I might look for some more August strikes over 105, probably like 120s or so. So that's Baidu. Square had an price target upgrade by Deutsche Bank this morning, took their price target to 98 from 90. They already had a buy rating. Maybe this is the kick it needs. It finally closed over that 50-day, or no, it's at the 50-day. Right now it's breaking over that in the pre-market. Finally closed over that 65 handle. It's a story, I think, into the 70s, and if not higher in the coming weeks. Don't be surprised if I add some August strikes here after the open, still have the Julys. Same with Celsius Holdings. It's just a matter of time before that one starts to break out again. So still have some July strikes. It's taking its time, but once I think it gets some Momo here, and I think some of the reason it hasn't really done well. You had the Pepsi earnings, and you have concerns around discretionary income from the consumer, so that might be weighing a little bit. But I still think it's a great growth story. And suppose they have inventory levels are an issue right now. So rants for other days, Celsius Holdings. So Ternspharmaceuticals. So yesterday, before the open, Pfizer announced that they're going to go ahead with their GLP-1 oral drug. I can't even pronounce what it's called. I'll practice it. Maybe I can say it in the future. But they had nixed it back at the end of last year. It was back at the end of last year, the study had severe adverse effects, nausea, vomiting. Over 50% of the folks pulled out of the study, things like that. So they nixed it. They shelved it. And now all of a sudden, and that was a two-time oral pill. So you have to take the pill twice a day for their study. Now, supposedly, I guess they're doing research. They're going to be able to figure out how to dose it better, and it's only be a one pill a day oral study. Who knows? They don't know the dosage and all that fun stuff. So to me, it sounds like almost like it reeks of a little bit of desperation. But then you take that on the flip side, and Ternspharmaceuticals oral GLP-1 data is due in back half of 2024. To me, it just adds premium valuation in some of these names, because if Pfizer is willing to kind of almost I wouldn't say put the reputation on line, but to take a study that they nixed and then come back again with it, it just shows that the demand is there, that they see a huge market opportunity. And to me, I mean, why not just buy turns now before it doubles or triples in stock price? So thankfully, they announced this before the July expiration. I locked the rest of my July 750s in for a couple 100%. I think it was 400%, 350. Still have some July 10s, which were pretty much, I wouldn't say written off for dead, but hurting. They came back to life. They were almost flat until it broke back under $9. I think it gaps and goes today. So I added some more August. I added August strikes. Don't want to be in a situation where they do announce data, because it could happen anytime. It could happen in the third quarter, it could happen in the fourth quarter, it could happen in July or August. So if they announce data or if there's some M&A, I think that's just the next leg for it. So real leg turns here. Nice break yesterday. Close over 850. I think it bodes well for double digits in the coming days. A VKTX, I think it's up 15% today. Stock charts was down for a little bit today, so I had trouble getting all my stuff together. It's kind of, you get a routine and kind of throws it off. Yeah, it's up 14% so far this week. I posted yesterday that huge short interest. So back at the November levels, when it was trading $11, it had a 16.9 million share short interest, which valuation at the time when the stock was $11 was at I think 176 million. Now it's trading up here near $60, and it has right back to those highs again for the short interest, 16.8 million, which is over a 1 billion share value that is held short, meaning someone has borrowed over, no, not someone, a whole bunch of folks have borrowed over $1 billion worth of VKTX stock because they think it's going lower. That's pretty remarkable. 6 billion valuation. At some point, again, similar to some of these other names, just a matter of time before that one goes. I keep saying it, but sometimes the broken record, it stops breaking, right? The records, and then it starts playing, and then things start to play out. Last but not least, I would say last but not least, Unity. So I don't know if it was Tim's or someone else in the chat room. It has gotten demolished. If you take a look where it was just in May, I mean, the stock was in the 20s in May. It was in the 30s back in April. You have this backdrop of Apple, and Apple's trying to get their Vision Pro going, right? And if the Vision Pro, which you're paying a premium price for, $3,000, whatever, it's $3,500, and you can't get programs and apps on it that make it worthwhile, right? If you pretty much, you have a paperweight, right? That's what you have. You have a paperweight with a battery pack you got to carry around on. But needless to say, that's where Unity comes into play. It's one of the partners for a lot of the apps, and Apple's mentioned them on some of their conferences, things like that. And it's just surprising to me that it's pretty much cut in half just in the last 3 months. So just because it's cut in half doesn't mean it deserves to rally 100%. But I think there's an opportunity there, at least for a move to $20. So don't be surprised if I add some of those strikes today. I think that's about VIX, CLH. A Chewy, disappointing yesterday. So the day before it rallies 2% and the premiums go up 100% on the calls. Yesterday it rallies another 3% and the premiums go down. So there's some shenanigans there. I don't know if it's Roaring Kitty locking in some premiums, people selling premium. I don't know what it is, but it's just a little frustrating. Hopefully I can finally get some bids in to get over $30. I don't know if it's gonna need some kind of catalyst, but really like that one. I'm trying to think of some of the other names. Nice name, Pool Corp. I don't know if it was someone else in the chat room. Pool was one of those names I used to like back in. I wouldn't say used to like back in the day, but if you look at Pool, and I could put it up on the daily chart, it has an insane pincher going on. I missed the move yesterday, closed up 6%, but look at this pincher. It's very similar to Baidu. So if you're looking at a pincher play, there's a name that could get up to 340 or so, and I think it fell on a downgrade. Let me just see. Wells Fargo downgraded them. Is that what they did? Let's see. I don't know if that's why it dropped. Why did it drop back in June? June 24th. I'm missing it. Why? Let's see. Bank of America downgraded them. So I got a great story because they saw a big boom in COVID, and their business model is not just about deploying and making pools and vacation spots for people in their backyards, but it's also the maintenance side of it, right? So I mean, they have a recurring revenue business model that should be just reaping the benefits, right? That's the higher margin side of the business. So it was $420 back in April. Typically you see the move up before the the summer season when the pool cycle, especially in the Northeast and some of these areas where you see a big demand, you see that the stock bump up ahead of time. But to see it trade down here, I mean, it's under $300 coming into yesterday. So could be a name to watch. I mean, the premiums are expensive, even if I went out and got the July's for next week. But it could run to three back up to 340. So a name I'll be watching. And I think that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. And earnings. Oh, I didn't talk about the banks. JP Morgan, mixed bag, Citigroup, a big buyback, that stock's rallying, and then Wells Fargo. I guess disappointment in their interest income business. And if you know, Wells Fargo is like the largest mortgage company, something like that. I'm sorry, I'm just getting distracted. A mortgage originator. So typically that the big piece for them is the interest for them. So I guess a disappointment there. And then PPI numbers came in a little hotter than expected, but I think it's going to be shaken off. So that's about it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.